the bar that y'all set that early in my career was it was amazing, obviously, because of the memories and everything that came out of it. But it almost in some ways was a detriment because no one else could live up to it. And it was like chasing the dragon for the rest of my career.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but the flip side of that was the things that were instilled in me as that young soldier, the private, and as a young private and specialist and corporal and sergeant, that, you know, I was able to try to shield the soldiers from it going forward, from some of that toxic leadership and things like that. And that was all based on the standards that y'all instilled in me. So it's definitely, you know, I remember it all well, but y'all just set that bar so high right off the bat that it was impossible to catch again. And you know, that it would have made a hard 20 years if I'd had to do 20 years looking for that. It was hard enough to do 8.
Marshall in the middle.
Soldier, attention!
Sergeant Ballance reporting, First Sergeant.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. All right, so now go back and now give me a signing out. Give me a salute where you say, you know, I don't know, over and out or signing out or I don't, or kiss my ass. I don't know what you might say, you know.
Pull the whole thing up.
All right. Sergeant Ballance signing off.
Amen. I love it. Thanks, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like the damn.
You need some questions?
Oh, weren't you supposed to send me those?
Hey, man, I was busy buying stuff to make this all work.
Oh, I love it, man.
Hey, tell Will I had to go all the way back to Office Depot today. Again.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Another $60. Hey, don't worry about it though. $10.99, baby.
Hey, so buddy, tell me about your decision to join the Army. Tell me about those days. You know, how old were you? Where were you in the world? Tell me about that kind of time.
I had actually enlisted when I was 18, and the hurricane, I think it was Hurricane Isabel, came through back home in North Carolina. So I was working, that happened, and rather than leaving, I kept working. And so I put off my decision for a couple of years, but I was going nowhere. So I knew I wanted to join. So a couple of years later, the opportunity came up and I just jumped on it. And there I ended up.
Yeah. So tell me about, you know, what made you join the Army? Were you patriotic? Was it a job that was steady? Was it a ploy to go out and see the world?
It was a little bit of all of it. I was raised by my granddad, who was a retired drill sergeant. And so I had always, as a kid, thought I would join. And then after, you know, I got out of school and everything, the job market wasn't great and I wasn't really going anywhere. So it was a way to, you know, see things and have a better life. I had never flown. I had never been off the East Coast of the United States at all. So it was a way to get out.
So you grew up in North Carolina, the Sandhills there, right? Elizabethtown, is that right?
Elizabeth City, right over by the Outer Banks.
Oh, okay, Elizabeth City. Okay, yeah. So were you a rambunctious kid? Were you like the Army type, or I mean, what were you, a shoot 'em up, bang bang kind of kid, or riding bikes or dirt bikes? What'd you do?
I was a wild one. I got into everything: four-wheeling, riding bikes, getting in trouble a lot. Just any kind of, yeah, I was definitely rambunctious. That definitely describes it.
Did you get in trouble?
Y'all all met me after I calmed down.
Did you get in trouble for one, you know, big thing, or you know, did the judge point at you and say go to the Army and go to jail?
No, I never got in legal trouble. I got in trouble a lot in school. I got in trouble so bad at school one time that my granddad had to come to school with me and go to all of my classes the entire day.
Oh no, what were you?
And I knew that that was coming, and I didn't even do my homework on that day. So he had to sit beside me while I told the teachers I didn't have my homework.
Oh wow, you were a neat kid.
I was troubled.
Oh wow, oh wow. So was basic hard for you? Was it hard to get in line then?
It wasn't just because I had been raised by him. So I kind of, in my mind, I knew what to expect, and I kind of embraced it. I embraced the whole idea of being stripped down and then built back up, and so I enjoyed it probably more than most.
Okay. Were you good at one thing? Did you find you were like good at marching or shooting or remembering the common task or anything like that?
I did good with any of the memorization stuff. I was always good at my whole life, and I mean I did well on the marksmanship and the ranges. um, I was never a PT stud. I was always middle of the line, but I always killed it on sit-ups for some reason.
When you left, was there a love interest that you left back home or some kind of something that was in a weird situation, you know?
I had a baby on the way when I left,
Oh wow.
so yeah,
So how has family turned into, family is an evolving thing, right? It's
for
wild
sure.
how we look back at some things in our lives. How has family affected you throughout your time and your military times?
It's definitely it's changed and grown and evolved a lot. Like your idea of family kind of changes, and um, you kind of go into something thinking that you know, man, nobody else goes through this or whatever, but then you meet 20 people, that have that are there for the same reason. They're looking for the same things, or they felt out of place, you know what I mean, where they were, and we're looking for that fit. So it makes you realize that you're not as the world ain't as lonesome as maybe you thought it was.
Amen. Amen. Did you did you learn anything about yourself in particular through your military times?
Learned I learned to yeah, I definitely did. I mean, I learned a lot about persevering, and a lot about being a lot of the values, you know what I mean, about just kind of changed me, the way that I looked at things and the way that I wanted to be. I
It's
had
neat
people I
how
could
the
look.
Army gave us a framework in a lot of ways to be ourselves, but yet to do the right thing. It
For
made it
sure,
a good thing, right?
for sure.
Yeah. As we were killing people, as we were supposed to kill the bad guys, right? We were good
Right.
to each other. That's for sure. What was your first duty station? Do you remember how transitioning, and getting into a new unit and all that kind of good stuff? What was your first unit?
First place out of AIT was Bravo 552
Oh
there in Fort
wow,
Bliss,
okay.
Texas.
Oh wow, that's great. So I was talking to Benson about that. Who was your first sergeant when you got there?
It was you.
Oh no way, that's so awesome. Do you remember integrating into the unit and how that went?
I do. I remember within the first week or two, because I think that you and Captain Ruth had just came as well. We had after the workday, we were all in the day room, and y'all kind of introduced yourselves and kind of talked, and were telling us your stories. So it's kind of like it kind of felt like everybody was new because it was kind of all coming together right as I came in. So we all kind of learned each other at the same time.
Oh wow. So it's neat that you remember that. That's exactly what happened. We were in a unique position to put a group of people together that we knew we were going to be together for almost 2 years. And that never happens in the Army. And so we really did. We went through all of the steps of the training process to get us to be the tops. There was nobody, at our peak ever again, really, that is as good as we are. I'll tell you honestly, because that training time was given to us. How much time did we spend in the field, buddy? Right? Remember?
Tons,
Yeah.
tons.
So you ended up getting a girlfriend.
Ha, I did. I
Yeah.
did. That was when we went to Yuma.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When we went to Yuma, I was on a crew drill for every cycle. You had your first crew, second crew, third crew. I was on a crew for every different one, but me and Buck were on the EPP. And I was on EPP for crew 1 and crew 2. So I was always running, always. And in exchange for that, I had Sergeant Elliott was my platoon sergeant. And he told me that in exchange for that, I wouldn't have to pull guard duty because I was just always doing something else.
Okay.
So our first night in Yuma, Arizona, I got woke up at like 3 o'clock for guard duty by an E5. So I couldn't argue because I was a brand new.
Wow.
And I went out there and there was Private New Glean. And we had guard duty that first night in Yuma.
Wow, that sounds magical, right? To be
That's
out in the
awesome.
middle of the desert
It worked out.
that's really cool. That's really cool. Well, congratulations. I think it's interesting how love blossoms, and the friends are many times the friends in your life are the ones you're forced to be around, right? Yeah, that's where
For
it
sure.
starts, right? That's where it starts.
For sure.
Did you ever fire your weapon when you were in the army? Did you ever have to shoot at anybody or anything?
No, not outside of the range.
Yeah. How do
No,
you
sir.
feel about that? Would you think that would have affected you? Like, I've always said that I didn't think that I'd ever want to shoot anybody, but I think that if somebody was shooting at me and it was like, I think I might shoot back. I think that's might be what would happen.
I think at that time in my life I was perfectly okay with the thought of it. But as I've grown, I've kind of evolved to where now I wouldn't want to be in that situation. And I choose life. I make life choices based on not wanting to ever have to make that decision.
Amen. Yeah, I agree. I'm at that point. There was a point in my life where I carried a weapon with me everywhere I went, and thought that I was training and I was going to be a sheepdog and protect people. And what I found is that mentally I was causing myself to really get anxious when I had no need to, and constantly thinking about being an offensive weapon against evil, and it was very confusing to my head. And the minute that I unstrapped that weapon from my hip and began to think of myself more as an Andy Griffith instead of a Barney Fife, things got better.
Yes, sir, for sure. And I did that where I took jobs that would put me in a more aggressive position for that type of things, and it took more of a mental toll than I think you take for granted that it will. So that just kind of changed my way of thinking as I grew and evolved.
So, what do you remember from your time of service as an accomplishment that you were proud of? Do you remember a time?
All those first 2 years, the 2 years that we were together, like I just feel like it was just a laundry list of them. Um, I can't really pinpoint very many. I remember when I was super young, when I first met Sergeant Hernandez. He was telling me about an AEM he had received, and they had put that he was the best private in the battery or something. And I remember I made that statement to Captain Ruth, and that on my first one, she wrote that, and I thought that that was awesome. The first one that I had ever gotten, that
I love it.
she
I
remembered that and wrote that. So I felt like a big shot then.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing how an award will make you feel, right? It's amazing what being called in front of a group of your peers and being pointed to as having done a good job when you know you were just doing your job, right? You were just doing what people told you to do. But for some reason, you did it so good that somebody wanted to give you an extra pat on the back. It's really weird. And I'll tell you, awards come and go, but they're a great example of how to lead folks. You know, they really are. People like awards, and
Sure.
they were rightly given. Right? Nobody, you didn't see people get awards that didn't deserve them over time. I mean, you really didn't. You really didn't. So, what was you know, the time transitioning out of the army like? How long did you stay in? What? Tell me about that.
I stayed in for 8 years. Um, and then as they were kind of doing those drawdowns, I had been hurting a little bit for a while, and I ended up getting a med board. And then we transitioned back to Virginia Beach. Um, it wasn't bad. I think it took me a while to kind of find my bearings and everything. I kind of got lost in trying to figure out a direction and a way to go and everything. And I mean, sometimes I still feel that way today, 8 years later. So it was rough.
A lot of folks seem to find a home in the army but don't seem to understand the job satisfaction while they're doing it. It's almost like you're so lost in a cloud of what the next mission is that you forget to kind of realize the camaraderie and love that you have around you. You know, it's a tough life, right? It's a tough
For
life.
sure.
Do you have a buddy in the army? Do you have a special, a friend that you palled around with, a guy that you'd sit there and talk for long hours in the foxhole, besides Sonia?
I mean, I had a couple. I had Sergeant Benson over there. There was many nights spent playing poker over there at his house.
Oh yeah.
Many overnights.
Oh
And then Day, of course. There was quite a few of them.
yeah, yeah. What what do you think that like if you were going to be known for in the army? What was it? What was it? You a good soldier? You a good leader? You a good tactician? You good at pushing soldiers? I mean, what is your contribution? You think maybe?
I just wanted to be good to my guys and set them up for success, like y'all did for me. You know, like set them up so that they didn't deal with some of the struggles that I had heard other people had or that I saw people have later on in my career.
Well, let me take this opportunity to tell you that I sure enjoyed serving with you. I sure enjoyed serving with you, and it was wonderful. It was
They
wonderful.
were definitely the best 2 years of my career.
Yeah. Do you have any story, anything, a piece of advice, anything that I don't know that we could kind of close this few moments with here? Is there a story that you'd like to tell about some time or an event, something that I don't know. I don't know what it might be.
Oh man, I mean, I can't think of any particular story really off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm sure I'll probably think of like 10, 5 minutes from now, but
Did you ever get into an accident or get into trouble while you were in the army? Did anybody ever yell at you? Did you ever have to pull any extra training or anything?
only when I was in AIT because I wasn't very good then. But once I hit the real army, I was pretty squared away and tried to stay out of trouble. I got called out one time for falling asleep on CQ. But that's about it.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's great. Hey man, you're a hero, and I really appreciate you being on the team. Right? You were you were one of the guys, one of the did it. You're the best private in the battery.
For sure.
Right? That's awesome. And so your MOS, you were and what was your MOS? You were like a
I was a Juliet.
that's right, yeah, command and control guy.
Roger that.
All of that was new world to me too. Remember, I didn't know nothing about that stuff, right?
You
So
came from SHORAD, right?
yeah, I'm an old Stinger dude, man. I was like, I didn't know. Yeah, so I always said I was going to get in the van and I was going to qualify and all that stuff, and I was going to do all my little tables and all that. But I was too busy taking pictures and being a cheerleader.
Those are some of the only pictures I have from my career, so I appreciate it.
It's an interesting time. It was an interesting time for me, for sure. Having never had a unit before where we all fought together. Remember, in SHORAD, everybody goes their separate ways, and you fight as little teams. You and your little 3 little guys, right? But suddenly now I am the first sergeant of a unit, and we're all together. And I can look at everyone, and I can chalk us up into a couple serials, and we can figure out how to make it through red lights together, and all those kinds of things. And it gets real. It gets a real head coachy kind of feel real quick, right? And so that's what I always viewed it as. And having a team where every one of us stayed together the whole time, you just do not understand how awesome that is. Now, did we have some, we have some things going on that you kind of got to look the other way sometimes. You can't, lose your mind about every little thing. Did we have underage drinking going on? Yeah, were you an underage drinker?
No, I was of age.
Yeah.
I turned 21 in basic.
Yeah. So, that's, I had times personally where I had to, make sure I looked the other way, right? Make sure that I gave my guys and gals plenty of room to sneak wherever they needed to sneak and do whatever they needed to do, because I didn't want no trouble, right? I wanted my team together, right? I didn't want to give nobody no Article 15 or cause no issues. And we had some characters, didn't we?
Oh, we did.
Huh?
We did for sure.
We had some folks that knew how to push buttons, and it was it kept us all going somehow.
We did for sure.
I'm just pausing to see if there's any story or anything that's just gonna come out of your mouth you want to say.
Oh, right on, right on. I definitely have to say that it's not as bad as maybe it's going to come out and sound, but the bar that y'all set that early in my career was amazing, obviously, because of the memories and everything that came out of it. But it almost in some ways was a detriment because no one else could live up to it. And it was like chasing the dragon for the rest of my career.
Right. Yeah.
But the flip side of that was the things that were instilled in me as that young soldier, the private, and as a young private and specialist and corporal and sergeant, that, I was able to try to shield the soldiers from it going forward, from some of that toxic leadership and things like that. And that was all based on the standards that y'all instilled in me. So it's definitely, I remember it all well, but y'all just set that bar so high right off the bat that it was impossible to catch again. And, that it would have made a hard 20 years if I'd had to do 20 years looking for that. It was hard enough to do 8.
It's tough times, military's not for everybody. And you're right. We had a strong team, didn't we? We had a strong team. Boy, I'd love to get us all back together. We'll go get us go get us a pack 3 system and go do a damn table 8, you know, we'll do it.
I mean, looking at some of these folks on social media, I don't know if they'll fit in the van.
It'll be
I
all
won't say no names.
It'll be all right. It'll be all right. Oh man. Well, hey, so great talking to you. I appreciate it. You're a hero, man, and I appreciate everything you've done. And you know, this is part of the Marshall in the Middle Heroes I Know series. I'm going to put it up on the on my Marshall in the Middle page there on Facebook, and then we're going to be putting together. If you'll send me pictures, I'm going to take the pictures I have and any more that you'll give me, and I'm going to turn it into a slideshow. And if you'll fill out this paperwork that Benson's going to give you, like duty stations, best, worst units, family events, favorite hymns, you know, all this stuff. We're going to put this together so that when it's time for your memorial service, that we've got some of this stuff done, you know, and
For sure.
it's captured, right? It means something, right?
For sure.
Something. And we think that this is a valuable product. And I appreciate your help in us getting it together and talking to us tonight. Buddy, I love you, man. You're a great soldier. You're a great person, man. Thank you very much.
Love you too, Will.
All right. Good night, man.
All right. Take care.